Welcome to Dumpster Times number 5. Yes, we're at issue number 5. This is Wanda Duck, and I am the editor-in-chief of the Dumpster Times, which represents my views on the world. And today we're going to talk about student loans. Yes, student loans. I'm 72 years old and I still have student loans. How did that ever happen? Well, here's what happened. I was an artist. I was a theater artist, struggling, living from gig to gig, moving here and there, wandering around, and I got good at what I was doing, and I became a teacher in the public schools. Shock. Yes, I joined the system at age 43. I had never been within the system. I'd had part-time gigs here and there, at banks and law firms, but I was never really owned by the system as I became when I became a teacher in a public school. Now, it was a brand new school and they were looking for a drama teacher, and I was really good at teaching drama to kids. So I applied and got the job. I had a BA in theater, but I did not have any education courses. So after it was shown that the school was going to keep going, well, I had to get a teaching degree. I had to get extra classes. I had to become certified in teaching. So I did that for several summers, and I took out student loans to cover that because I was still working part-time until I could become a full-time unionized teacher, which meant I had to get these credits. Okay, so I did that starting in 1997, 98, I think. All right, so I became a certified teacher, got in the union, teaching away, having a great time. And then the George Bush Education Department said that, well, we're not going to leave any children behind. So all of you teachers, you need to go out and get master's degrees. So it was back to the student loans to get a master's in theater. And that took me from 2002 until 2010 to accomplish that because I was still teaching full-time and directing. And the master's program was fortunately in the summer. Anyway, more student loans. The first people who had my loans were the Great Lakes educational people. And then somehow, at some point, Navient consolidated my loans. Now, I realized that I must have gone along with this. I don't know how I was lured into going with Navient, but it happened. And this went on for many years until the pandemic came, and I was paying off month after month, year after year, student loans. I had thought about applying for the public service loan forgiveness aspect of student loan programs, but at that time it was if you were a teacher in a Title I school. And my school was not a Title I school, even though I taught kids who obviously came from those situations. Anyway, there was always some little thing that kept me from getting those loans removed. So when the pandemic hit and everyone was told you don't have to pay for a while, I kept on paying them because I really didn't believe the Biden promises that he was going to forgive student loans, and I really wanted to get the payments off my back. I was down underneath 10,000 at that point. So I was paying them, and then the Biden program was revealed to the world, and we were all told to go sign up. But the problem was you needed to make sure that your loans were not in the hands of Navient, but were in a U.S. government student loan approved loan company. And there was a list of them. So I had to consolidate my loans again and get them out of the hands of Navient, which for some reason they were just pure profit, I guess. And I don't know. Anyway, so I got out of Navient last year and into Mohila. Is that how you say it? Mohila, yes. And coincidentally, it turned out that Mohila took part in the lawsuit that went to the Supreme Court about student loans, because Mohila didn't want to do that, but someone on their board or somebody said, "Boy, I'm really authoritative here, aren't I?" Anyway, Mohila was part of that, though they didn't want to be. They don't care. Supposedly, they would like people to have their loans paid in full, off, for free. Because it turns out that I did go to Mohila and I re-explored the situation after the Supreme Court, because we all have to start paying on our loans again. Forbearance is going to be up starting September 1st. There's this new plan, save plan, which would reduce how much people have to pay down to zero in many cases if you're really poor, living at poverty level, kind of like me. So I was looking into that, and I called Mohila and I said, I talked to a live person, not a robot. And she was very helpful. Michelle, thank you, Michelle. You did a great job. And she steered me back to the public service student loan forbearance plan, because now any teaching counted, and any service that any job you had that was for a nonprofit that was registered with the IRS also would count. Well, I quit teaching in 2015 to start my own nonprofit, which does have a nonprofit certificate. And lo and behold, I have over 10 years of nonprofit service added up, and the rest of my student loan forgiveness, my student loan debt, is going to be forgiven. So they say. It hasn't happened yet. But I have filled out the forms. The two nonprofits have returned the forms and signed them to prove that I did indeed serve. And all of this leads to some final thoughts. First of all, anyone who gets a college degree and gets work and stays working for, make it 10 years, just like teachers, no matter whether it's profit or nonprofit, if they can utilize, if they can, even if they didn't use their degree, if they can work for 10 years after college and be a functioning member of society through that, we're not going to judge that. But let's just look at your IRS returns. 10 years, loans forgiven. Well, that's a mediary step, because truthfully, what we really need to do is what people around the world have been doing for a long time, and that is make college free. Pre-K, 13 and up, make it free. Then we don't have these heavy burdens of debt on young people's shoulders as they're trying to make their way into the world. And you don't have young people trying to pick a career that's going to give them money so that they can pay off their debt, rather than picking a career that is going to make them feel proud of who they are and what they can do for the world. So yeah, that's how you do it. Instead of all these little barricades, you must be only this rich. And if you're only this rich, go over here. And then we must decide if you're this rich or this rich. If you're this rich, certain restrictions apply. But if you're this rich, go to the next number. It's crazy. Let's not do it. Okay. So my Wanda's solutions for student debt: don't put them into debt in the first place. Anyway, I will keep you posted on what happens with my student debt public service application. And I hope you all can find a way out of your student debt dilemmas, and let's keep fighting them. Power to the people, folks. Bye. I just want to share with you some breaking news about student loan forgiveness. And President Biden's recent new plan is now under attack. I guess we could have predicted this was coming. From today, Associated Press, Colin Binkley: conservative groups sue to block loan forgiveness. Biden plan would cancel $39 billion in student debt. Two conservative groups are asking a federal court to block the Biden administration's plan to cancel $39 billion in student loans for more than 800,000 borrowers. In a lawsuit filed Friday in Michigan, the groups argue that the administration overstepped its power when it announced the forgiveness in July, just weeks after the Supreme Court struck down a broader cancellation plan pushed by President Joe Biden. It asks a judge to rule the cancellation illegal and stop the Education Department from carrying it out while the case is decided. The suit was filed by the New Civil Liberties Alliance on behalf of the Mackinac Center for Public Policy and the Cato Institute. The Education Department called the suit a desperate attempt from right-wing special interests to keep hundreds of thousands of borrowers in debt. We're not going to back down or give an inch when it comes to defending working families, the department said in a statement. Okay, well, if you're going into the SAVE plan, I would tread carefully. I would try to avoid paying as much as possible, but if you can find another way, like I did, go for it, because the SAVE plan is under attack, and who knows how and if it will be resolved.